Hey y'all, and happy Monday. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone for giving me the space and the opportunity to get my mind right, because your girl was struggling last week. But just like I said in the Motivation Monday episode, God is good, okay? If you have not listened to that Motivation Monday episode, you better go back. Take your ass back to June 30th, because I was talking about some amazing things that are coming to Detroit. And I cannot wait to release the information. So I'll put a little bit in that Motivation Monday episode. So make sure you go back and listen into that so that you can be in the know. And when it's time to say go, your ass is ready. You understand? So yes. Thank you very much. Now we are getting back to our regular scheduled program. Again, thank you so much for giving me that time to deal with that, little blow. I felt like it was very sad. But just like I said, God is good. And that no, or those no's, because it was a no from every major conference, really is going to help fuel the conference that I want to do for my people. That it's just going to be such a collaborative experience. And I also want to say a huge shout out to everyone that has been DMing me, the prayers, y'all really came through. And I just want to say thank you so much. So much love I have felt the last couple days. Shout out to my friends from social media and, in real life that reached out and, checked in to see how I was doing. I just want to say thank you so much. Today, y'all, we are talking about conflict avoidance, okay? In your damn job. Because a lot of people don't even realize that they do it. And also a lot of times the environment may not necessarily be an environment where you can actually communicate your discomfort or communicate an issue that you're having. So a lot of people recess, like they pull back and they say, you know what, I'm going to pull back on this. But then when you get into other environments that are more collaborative, it just continues to have that same effect on you. And you don't even realize that you are being conflict avoidant. And it's causing an issue. It's causing a war within yourself. And I don't know who said this, but there was a quote that I seen or heard. It's along the lines of, if you avoid conflict, you are causing a war within yourself, which means that you would never really truly know peace at all, because you are always avoiding conflict. You are always avoiding the elephant, the truth that is sitting right in the room. And a lot of times that can look very different for a lot of people because it depends on what the scenario is. But there are times where you cannot avoid the fucking elephant. You actually need to call her out or call him out. You need to call that thing out. And we're going to talk about it. Okay, so why are people avoiding conflict in the workplace? Number one, I think the top thing is fear of confrontation. There are so many people who are confrontational, but there are just as many, if not more, people who do not want to have any type of issue. They will just rather suffer in silence than have any type of direct disagreement. They avoid any type of heated emotion. And it all comes from different types of trauma. Like, I feel like a lot of conflict avoidant people are people who struggle a lot in childhood to communicate with their parents. But I am not a therapist. I'm just saying what I see. Okay, for those of you who could not be as vocal about your emotions or vocal about issues that you had as a child, that's what you grew into being. And it just got worse. You grew up, kind of being the yes person to avoid the conflict. Another reason could be the desire to maintain harmony or the falsified peace, right? You think it's harmony, you think it's peace, but it's not really peace because you are actually the person who is at war, just like that quote that I was talking about in the beginning. There's a belief that avoiding conflict will keep relationships inside of the workplace smooth and prevent tension, those heated emotions that we talked about. It really is not. You're just suppressing them. That's all you are really doing. The third reason would be lack of conflict resolution skills. A lot of people just don't know how to navigate disagreements. They don't know how to speak in a constructive way. And this goes a lot for managers because managers have to give a lot of feedback. So if you don't understand how to properly give feedback, everything is going to be great. There's no issue because you want to avoid the problem. When in reality, it's not going to help anybody to avoid communicating and telling them the truth. It doesn't help anyone to avoid that. You need to be honest and tell them the truth. If they're sucking at their job, then not only tell them the truth, but come with resolution. Let's come with a way to solve this. Reason number 4 is you are afraid of what is going to happen. Now this conversation has happened, you are fearing that there's going to be some type of retaliation, which is like losing your job. You don't want to make your coworkers or your management angry. And you're afraid of what's going to happen if you actually come out and say exactly what the issue is. The perception of minor issues. Sometimes people believe that the issue is just too small to warrant confrontation, meaning like this is actually not a big deal. And a lot of times we minimize things that are really, really large in the workplace. We minimize it and make it seem like it's not a big deal. But in reality, we are really struggling with the disrespect. We are really, having an issue with whatever this problem is or this person is doing. The last reason is going to be past negative experiences. Again, this goes right back to what we were talking about in the beginning, that if you are someone that really struggled with communicating and talking about things that were an issue for you in order to save face as a child, that's exactly what you're doing as an adult. You're just doing it in the workplace now. And it has a lot of negative effects. Let's talk about the negative effects because, y'all, I don't think y'all realize how far this really goes. You, number 1, will have decreased productivity. Unresolved conflicts in the workplace lead to lower morale, reduced motivation, and it hinders your performance. People become disengaged. They don't want to cooperate. They don't want to collaborate. They don't want to do anything because they're not able to really communicate the way that they should. It has created damaged relationships, meaning not relationships like a personal one, but working relationships where you and your colleague can collaborate or work together on different tasks. It has caused an issue because y'all don't know how to communicate effectively to where people are not taking things personal. It also creates a high turnover rate. People leave jobs left and right because they feel unheard, they feel undervalued, they feel like they are not supported. So they leave. They move on. Once you feel like, you know what, baby, I'm not about to keep saying the same shit every day, okay? I done told you what you needed to do. I done communicated with management what needs to be done, and nobody is doing anything. People leave. It also creates a dysfunctional work environment, hence why the people leave. It creates a culture of conflict avoidance all the way around because people create either a hostile work environment or it's very passive aggressive where issues just kind of live. They just kind of sit. I don't know if y'all watch The Room or not watch The Room, but watch Harry Potter. In Harry Potter, they have a room where all things go, they get lost. It's called the Room of Requirement, if I'm not mistaken. And it's like this little magical wall that all this shit is stuck behind this wall in this room. And that's where everybody's problems go. Y'all don't really deal with it. Y'all don't really clear things up. You just put it behind the wall for tomorrow. We'll just deal with it tomorrow. We'll deal with it next week. We'll deal with it. And that creates like strained communication because there's no way for people to really have real conversations. And it creates an environment where people become less open and honest. okay, about concerns, about ideas, and it really hinders the problem solving tools that you want to make sure that not only your team has, but that you have as an employee. I'm telling y'all, when you have a conflict in the workplace, if you handle it the right way, it can be a catalyst for innovation, improved processes, stronger teams, better communication. If we did it right, if we handle issues right in the workplace, it would be such a collaborative workspace where people can come together and put their ideas on the table instead of feeling like I'm going to be, yelled at, because that happens. That happens. People get disrespected in the workplace. People are struggling with making decisions because they feel like if I make the wrong decision, I'm going to, I'm going to get in trouble, or it's going to be some type of issue. So people have decision fatigue. They don't want to do it. They don't want to be that person that makes the difficult decisions. And then it kind of just leads to loss of trust, which I feel like is all of these things in one, because the rug has been pulled from underneath them. Issues have been then swept under that rug, and then they get put into the room of requirement. And that is not a place where we can actually solve problems. Things just build up. Now that we know the reasons, the effects, let's talk about how to solve this problem. You just want to do everything in reverse. Okay, the complete opposite of what I said. If you have a strained communication environment, you want to create an environment of open conversation, open collaboration. Encourage your team to voice concerns early and openly, ensuring that everyone feels heard and that there's no fear of reprisal. There's nobody worried about whether or not their job is on the line because they communicate something. You never want to create that type of environment. Provide training in active listening, empathy, negotiation, mediation to empower teams and individuals to address disagreements constructively. There are a lot of speakers that will come out to your job and give you the tools to create a better work environment. I cannot remember this person's name, but he came to a dental office that I was working at back in Florida. And he was such it was such a light bulb, because the team was looking at everything that somebody did as like an attack. But it really was not an attack, because the way we're looking at it was just incorrect. We needed to change the way that we look. So let's just say, for example, right? Front desk adds a new patient towards the end of the day. And oh my God, they just want to meet goal. They just want to stay here. They just wanted this. So this is the back, right? The back team, the clinical team getting upset because this is what front desk is doing. Instead of being like, maybe this patient was, really hurting or in a lot of pain, and they just were trying to get the patient taken care of as soon as possible. It's the weekend. So changing the way that we look at what people do in the workplace is a big, big part of that. Because if we're always looking for the negative, then you won't ever be able to see the positive, because you're looking at everything in a negative way, which makes you feel like everything is an attack. Everything is an issue, when in reality it's not. Some things are not necessarily an attack against you, and you have to kind of have discernment to know whether or not things are actual attacks, or whether or not you are actually being disrespected. Like, sometimes that's just not the case. And having discernment in those situations, that's something that you're going to have to grow into. Nobody can give you step by step, but I can give you the tools on how to not look at everything so negative. So maybe that will be our episode for Friday, so that we can kind of stay on the same topic. Address issues directly and early. Make sure that you promote a practice of confronting minor issues before they escalate. This is very, very important. Make sure that you communicate with your team so that they know, like, bring your issues early. When you see a problem, let's go ahead and fix this. Don't just sit on the problem. Model healthy engagement of conflict. Leaders and managers should demonstrate effective conflict resolution. So your management team, number one, needs to make sure that they are skilled, because the way that they communicate with the team, the way that they handle disagreements, the way that they handle a issue being brought up is what is going to affect your team. Make sure that you continue to have clear communication channels. So whichever way you all communicate, whether it's teams, if there's like an issue, like what's the process for you to communicate so the message gets out on how to fix that problem, and then focus on solutions. This is where complaining comes in. So once you communicate, this is an issue, how does it turn into complaining? There is no solution. There's no way to solve this. You only come with who's at fault. You try to shift blame. You try to figure out who did this, when in reality, solve the fucking problem. The problem is going to exist no matter who did it. So that's why, like, that should not be your first thought. Your first thought is, how do we solve this so we don't ever have this problem again? And this is what's going to help you become more solution-based so that you are not always focused on a problem. Make sure that you try to find the way to solve it, because if all you're doing is looking at blame, trying to figure out who did, you're not going to really be able to solve problems. And there's a difference between communication and complaining. Complaining comes with no solution, while communicating effectively comes with a solution. You have a problem, which we recognize, which we acknowledge, and this is how we solve it. So make sure that if you are the person who is communicating the issue, not only do you bring that issue up, but you also come with a solution to that problem, okay? Okay. Now, y'all have a good ass day at work. Make sure you listen to the Motivation Monday episode. Not only did we talk about, the things that's coming, but we also talked about making sure that you bring your ass to work in a clear mindset. Take inventory before you walk in. And I gave a couple scenarios in there. It's a short episode, but make sure you go back if you're happening to listen to this first. I hope that y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll see y'all asses later. Bye.